The girl was born with a limited mind. Her older brother would often tease her like this. In this family, she suffered beatings and scolding every day for no reason. An even more terrifying nightmare happened when her brother dragged her into the cowshed and insulted her. The girl's name was Dee Dee. In her parents' eyes, she was nothing but a useless burden who would never get married. They chose to ignore their son's cruel behavior. Not only that, Dee Dee's father even treated her like livestock. He often dragged her to taverns crowded with men and tried to sell her off.
Zo flink mokkertje, hè? Kijk eens, kijk, hè? Dat flinke, als je zo meepakken.
Yet for all the immoral actions of this family, not a single villager stepped forward to speak a word for this poor girl. The villagers were extremely indifferent. When an orphan named Lipin, who had survived polio, was following his employer to work in the fields, the employer's young son threw a rotten apple at Lipin's face. The employer not only failed to stop him, he instead laughed with delight. But this scene was witnessed by a woman named Antonia. She did not sit by and do nothing like the other villagers. She hung the boy on the tree trunk, then turned around with confidence and told Lipin to follow her.
Kom hier! Kom hier! Ondankbare hond! Willem, kom terug!
Antonia did not mind Lipin's slow movements. She treated him like her own younger brother and patiently guided him. For the first time, Lipin felt what it meant to be respected. From then on, Lipin became more and more cheerful. When Bas was working in the fields with his 5 sons, he saw this independent and kind woman and could not help but feel deep respect. Antonia had been born in this village. To chase her dreams, she left home for Italy when she was 12. A few days ago, after her mother passed away, Antonia finally returned to her hometown with her 18-year-old daughter. In the entire village, only her old friend Crom, who almost never left his home, showed a knowing smile when he saw her face. After Antonia buried her mother, she decided to settle down for good. She began growing crops in the fields, and together with her daughter Danielle she fetched water from the village well, doing many tasks that were usually reserved for men. Danielle loved painting, and she fully understood her mother's decision, but as more time passed in the village, she discovered how hard life was for many vulnerable people, especially for the women, who received no respect from the men. They survived like wild grass, struggling in the cracks. One evening, Bas came to visit Antonia with the courage given by wine. It turned out Ba had been thinking about this for a long time, and he came specifically to propose to Antonia. But Antonia said she did not need a husband or sons, yet she welcomed Bas and his boys to come help her with the work. With Antonia's permission, Bas often dressed himself up and brought his sons to visit her courtyard. There, Bas felt a long-lost warmth. The village pastor was also moved by Antonia's kindness. Lipin had long grown used to life there. Antonia's courtyard overflowed with laughter and joy. One day, as Danielle passed by Dee Dee's yard, she remembered all she had heard about Dee Dee's situation, so she decided to visit her. When Dee Dee's mother told her that Dee Dee was working in the cowshed, Danielle walked straight inside. Danielle brought Dee Dee back to her own home and carefully cleaned the wounds on her hands. From that moment on, Dee Dee refused to return to that home that felt like a living nightmare. She and Lipin helped Antonia run the farm. She felt happy every single day, and Dee Dee's father never once came looking for her. On Danielle's sketch paper, the smiles of Dee Dee and Lipin healed the hearts of these 2 unfortunate young people. Meanwhile, Dee Dee's older brother feared that his shameful actions would be exposed, so he packed his things and chose to join the military. In the blink of an eye, Antonia's crops grew from seeds to green shoots and finally to a field of gold. But Danielle still could not find her true self in painting. One day, while working in the fields, Danielle suddenly told her mother that she wanted to have a child. Antonia and her friend Crom both thought Danielle meant she wanted marriage, but when Danielle told them she only wanted a child and not a marriage, Antonia immediately understood her daughter's feelings. She supported Danielle's decision with her actions, but at that time, having a child before marriage would bring moral condemnation, even though they risked being driven out of the village. Antonia was not afraid of any of it. When it came to choosing the father of the child, she told Danielle what she needed to do.
Wij zoeken het niet in het dorp, want daar krijgen we last mee. De boeren hier fokken toch alleen maar zo. En hun blik reikt niet verder dan de eerstvolgende koeienkont. Over een paar maanden gaan we naar de grote stad. En daar vinden we de toekomstige vader.
That very afternoon, Antonia and Danielle appeared on the streets of London. With the help of friends, they confirmed the father of Danielle's future child. a race car driver. The man, who urgently needed money to buy a new car, gladly agreed to the arrangement. With cheerful moods, they headed to a countryside hotel with fresh air and a peaceful environment. Although the two young people had just met and barely knew each other, they spent 3 pleasant days and nights there. Outside the hotel, Antonia and her friend kept watch the entire time. 3 days later, Danielle rushed out of the hotel after completing her mission. She told her mother that this time she could finally realize her dream. Back in the village, Danielle soon became pregnant, but the bishop harshly condemned them for what she had done. The bishop believed Danielle had violated sacred values, broken the village's fine traditions, and brought negative influence to the community. He said he would report the matter to his superiors and let the government deal with her pregnancy. Antonia left with Danielle in anger to protest the bishop's ignorance and decay. Bas also stood up with his sons, becoming the first to defend Danielle through his actions. To keep the situation from escalating, Antonia asked her pastor friend and Bas to go with her to speak to the bishop, hoping he would stop interfering with Danielle's pregnancy. But when they arrived at the church late at night, they discovered that the bishop, who preached moral virtue, was secretly forcing village women into shameful situations. The next day, with his misconduct exposed, the bishop had no choice but to change his prayer during the service. He loudly praised the greatness of women who bring life into the world. A few months later, Danielle's daughter Therese was safely born. This house full of people without blood ties all felt overwhelming joy at the arrival of this new life. It proved that Antonia's choice of genetics was truly unique. When Therese was 4 years old, she already showed remarkable talent for learning. She loved science and mathematics. The knowledgeable Crom became Therese's first spiritual mentor. The pastor, who had seen through the hypocrisy of empty rules and decided to free himself, completely broke away after causing a scene in the church one day. He then went to Antonia.
Ik ben vrij! Ik ben vrij!
From then on, Antonia's family grew even larger. They worked together on the farm every day like true family. One day, when Didi stretched lazily, Antonia noticed her round belly. It turned out that over time, Didi and Lippin had developed feelings for each other, and Didi was carrying Lippin's child. On Didi's wedding day, her mother watched her from a distance with a relieved smile. It was clear her daughter had found true happiness. She felt genuinely happy for her. Meanwhile, Boss's sincerity finally moved Antonia. She told Bas that she could now give him her answer to his old proposal. So Bas built a cozy home by the river with his own hands. They did not hold a wedding, and with the blessings of Danielle and Therese, Bas drove his tractor and carried the woman he loved to their new home. Soon after, a lonely woman appeared in Antonia's courtyard. She was Antonia's good friend, abandoned by her husband, and she came seeking refuge. The moment the pastor saw her, they developed feelings for each other. When Therese turned 5, her teacher noticed that her sensitivity to numbers was far beyond that of other children her age. The teacher told them she could come to their home every day after school to give Therese 2 hours of free tutoring. Antonia's family grew larger and larger as Didi and Antonia's friend continued to have children. However, this peaceful life was shattered on the day Didi's father passed away. Didi's older brother returned home after hearing about their father's death, but he did not come back to attend the funeral. He came to fight his younger brother for the inheritance. This cruel man had never let go of the hurt Danielle caused him. He remained obsessed with the blow from the rake in the cowshed, but now he did not dare to do anything to Danielle. So he set his sights on young Therese. Didi's brother went to the fields and provoked the members of Antonia's family. When Didi saw her brother, she covered her eyes in fear, but the man's gaze locked directly onto Therese. That night, 13-year-old Therese was harmed by this man. Seeing her daughter's condition, Danielle picked up the hunting rifle and prepared to leave. Antonia took the rifle from her daughter and went into the night searching for Didi's brother.
Sta op.
Antonia knew it meant nothing to risk her life for someone like him. She wanted him to live long enough to face consequences. But right after Antonia left, Boss's 5 sons surrounded him. The combined strength of 5 young men in the prime of their lives could have taken his life in a matter of seconds. When Didi's brother crawled back to his yard, Didi's second brother stepped forward to help him up, but he led him straight to the well. To ensure no one fought him for the inheritance, Didi's second brother made his decision. Later, although some villagers suspected his death, no one accused anyone. Everyone seemed relieved to be rid of such a wicked man. Thankfully, Crom used his knowledge of psychology to counsel Therese for a long time, with her loyal friend Simon always by her side. Therese slowly emerged from that dark shadow. As an adult, Therese became a university teacher, and she and Simon began a relationship. But like her mother Danielle, when she learned she was having Simon's child, she firmly refused to marry. Even after giving birth to her daughter, she did not abandon her career. From the day the baby was born, she held her only once in a symbolic gesture, then handed her to the family. Buried in her books, Therese seemed disconnected from the child. In the years that followed, she kept studying and moving forward on her path. Like a grandfather, Crom guided her at every important stage of her life. But a few years later, on the day the pastor's 13th child was born, the shadow of death began to fall upon the family. The pastor's wife passed away from heavy bleeding after childbirth. Soon after, the pastor left the village with his children and moved to the city. Lippin also died shortly after in a car accident. At 90 years old, Crom could no longer endure the pain of illness and chose to end his life. Therese rushed home from London, and Crom's death brought her immense sorrow. For a long time she stopped working, sitting silently in Crom's study, shutting herself off from the world. Antonia's family courtyard suddenly grew quiet. Therese's daughter sat on the rooftop while her grandmother Danielle told her stories of the past. Every person in the stories came alive in her mind. However, the grandmother too had grown old, so old that after dancing one song with BAS, she used up all her strength. Antonia realized her own time was near, so she asked her great-granddaughter to come to her bedside. She told her that death was not an ending, it was a natural cycle, but while alive, one must do meaningful things and be kind. Antonia's independence, kindness and respect for others and their choices freed her from the chains of empty moral rules and lifted her above worldly expectations, becoming the quiet force within her. Before she passed away, Antonia's beloved family sat beside her, and she left this world without regret.